All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Head in the Clouds from us here at Go Cloud Careers. Tonight, we're going to be discussing ChatGPT and how it changes everything. But before we get started, my name is Chris. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Go Cloud Careers, joined by Michael Gibbs, our founder and CEO, who didn't realize I was going to call his name, and Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT, specifically how it's a disruptive technology and how it's going to be changing everything from the way that we work, the way that we live, the way that we play, the way that we interact with various things. We're gonna explain ChatGPT. We're going to talk about the impact that ChatGPT has on cloud computing careers, and how ChatGPT affects AWS certifications, and more about ChatGPT and digital transformation. You know that we talk a lot about the cloud architect role and other cloud computing careers and their relationship to businesses and specifically the digital transformation for the business. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. So again, let me welcome you at Go Cloud Careers. Our goal is to help you reach your dream careers.
Yeah.
And the team here has over 50 years of leadership experience, and we're here to help you and share the knowledge from our extensive background with you. But this weekly show is where we come to have fun, come to unwind, let loose a little bit, but still address the topics that are important to you. And like I said previously, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT. So before I tell everybody about the things that I have to tell them about, anything that you'd like to say, gentlemen?
I guess I'll begin, and it's a pretty exciting thing to talk about ChatGPT, as well as very scary, because it's literally going to change the way we live, work, and play. Hate to steal that slogan from Cisco, but I am from Cisco. It will change people's jobs dramatically. The people that adopt ChatGPT will have an extreme advantage over everyone. The people that cling to their own roles, unfortunately, many of their jobs will be lost, but it doesn't have to be. How you leverage the technology, how you leverage the innovation is everything. For example, many years ago, I remember these wonderful retail stores. And then Walmart and Amazon came in, and most of them were destroyed. Amazon had new technology that can change things. Here's the good news with ChatGPT. Small businesses can get it, and everybody can access it, and all of you can use it in your career. And the decisions you make now will determine if you have a high-paying career or if, unfortunately, your career gets honestly canceled. And many careers will be canceled. And that's why we're talking about this show. We're going to show you why a lot of the things covered in certifications are basically not essential anymore. Now, knowing how the cloud works, how to design the cloud, how to present the cloud, how to sell the cloud, how to architect the cloud, how to solve people's problems, that skill is more valuable than ever. How to leverage technology such as AI, more valuable than ever. But hands-on only tech careers, like programming, for example, or cloud administration, this will destroy those careers in a matter of days, months, or years. I mean, it's literally going to be an overnight change. But those careers augmented with ChatGPT, can have a lot of skills, and we're going to guide you with that. And some of the things we'll do tonight is we'll show you things that are taught in certifications. We'll show you how ChatGPT can not only do them, but do them better than anything that's taught in certifications. But it can't do certain things. Can't replace cloud architects, can't replace leaders, can't replace marketing executives, can't replace people that run businesses and operations, can't replace cloud account managers and sales executives, can't replace so many of those things that are out there, which are the best jobs and the highest paying jobs. So I want you to see what those are, because you can all have anything you want. But as the world changes, we have to adapt. My uncle taught me when I was young, adapt, improvise, and overcome. And this is something that we must all adapt to, and we must all overcome. Otherwise, we'll be made obsolete. And no, I don't want to be a dinosaur. I've been through a lot of tech changes over the years, and I'm not going to be a dinosaur. I'm just going to adapt, improvise, and keep overcoming. But you, Alonzo.
I agree, Chris and Mike. I think that, we all want the latest and greatest iPhones. We want the latest and greatest everything from our consumers. But let's flip that and understand that the products that the corporations create for the consumers want adapted and upgraded employees as well. Insert your name 2.0, 2.5, and so forth. So this is a kind of like a notice button for everyone what ChatGPT can do. What compare yourself to what it's doing, to what you're doing, how that could possibly eliminate a lot of your skill set, and you need to evolve. Get that point, whatever valuation when it comes to yourself, so that you can show the manager, your existing manager, or the job that you want to go for, specifically cloud architecture, and let them know that a computer cannot replace innovation, intuition, leadership, and things of that matter that are so valuable to the employer. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we have for today.
Yeah, I want to, before we get started, if you guys will let me say a few more things. I do want to make everybody aware of a couple of things, and then I want to add some comments of my own. I haven't added my flavor yet to the ChatGPT. But before we get started, I do want to let everybody know that we do have our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. These are held every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll share with you everything you need to know, what the hiring manager wants, what the a cloud architect actually does, according to hiring managers and the people that pay them, what they actually do, what kind of job experience matters, how to deal with HR and the job descriptions, the ones that ask for 75 years of Kubernetes experience and all 15 different coding languages that take 50 years to learn, all that, 15 Olympic gold medals, everything. And there's crazy job descriptions. We tell you what to do with those. I can give you a hint, but it wouldn't be very nice. And then, of course, we tell you exactly what you need to learn to become a cloud architect. Now, I said that's every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, but we're also going to be doing one next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I kind of went the wrong way there. I should have just gone 7-6-5-4, but sorry about that. But next Monday, we'll be doing one at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for everybody that may not be able to join us during the day. Oh, Brandon Bowman's in the chat box. I know you like some gold medals there, Brandon. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. I'm not surprised that you're here, Brandon. This seems like something right up your alley.
Yeah, I think there's a flavor for Brandon.
But yeah, so join us on that webinar. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. We'll be able to interact with you and answer any of your questions about the cloud career, and how to get started. Next, I want to remind everybody, currently we've got a discount countdown right now. While slots are available and for a limited time, you can get up to 60% off on our award-winning cloud architect training. This is the lowest price that this program will be. This is a program that has 3 live classes a week from industry experts and others that have 300 years of combined experience. And when I say others, I mean people like business executives, business professionals, business professors, economics professors. So industry experts in their own right, just not in the tech industry, in business. And at the end of the day, business is what these roles that we're talking about and training for and preparing people for is business and transforming business. So we've got networking experts, we've got application experts, we've got cloud native experts, we've got Mike, we've got Alonzo, we got me, we got doctors from the University of Tennessee system, we've got economics professors, we've got people that have wealth of knowledge that will be sharing that knowledge with you. And in addition to those 3 live classes, this program has 500 hours worth of on-demand content. It's got an amazing community of people from all around the world with different backgrounds and different experience levels that are helping each other reach their dreams. Just last week, we had 2 individuals with no tech experience get high-level architect jobs, a senior solutions architect role, and an enterprise architect role without any previous tech experience by taking part in our award-winning cloud architect career development program. So take advantage of that discount while it's available. Every day that you delay is potentially $800 of lost income.
Yeah.
The average cloud architect earns $197,000 a year, which is $800 a day on average. So every day that you delay getting that career is $800. Every month, it's roughly $16,000 in potentially lost income. So take advantage of that discount. Attend our webinar if you have any questions, you want to learn any more. And then lastly, make sure you're following Mike and us on LinkedIn. Everything that we do, whether it's training information, opportunities for enrollment, new video content, leadership posts, publications that we're in, publications that Mike is in. We're putting all of that out there on LinkedIn for you, to benefit you. So make sure you're following us over there on LinkedIn, both Mike and Go Cloud Careers, especially Mike. Mike shares gold nuggets every day. It's like they just follow him around. He just kind of drops them, and everybody picks them up. So make sure you're following us over there on LinkedIn. So those are the things I wanted to make sure everybody's aware of. But since Alonzo and Mike got the chance to give their opening comments about ChatGPT, I wanted to give my opening comments, but not specifically about ChatGPT, but about innovation, disruptive technologies. Most of you know, and if you don't know, you're about to know now, I come from a hotel background. I worked in the hotel industry for 12 years. So everybody knows you can go online and make a reservation. You couldn't always go online and make a reservation. You used to have to call the hotel and make a reservation.
I remember.
And those people that took the reservation had to manually take down the reservation in something called a registration logbook. and then all of a sudden, one day, this all became computerized. And everybody, that disrupted that industry, not in a bad way, in a good way. That just everything just exploded. The crazy thing is, most of those companies are still running off the technology that started that in the 70s and the 80s, which is really scary. If you saw what happened with Southwest Airlines a couple of weeks ago, the hotel industry is quaking in their boots like, oh my gosh, that could happen to us, because every hotel company is still running off the. If you go into a Marriott and you go back there and you're literally looking at DOS. If you go and look at the front desk computer, you're looking at DOS. It's black screen, green font, can't use a mouse. But anyway, still, that was a disruptive technology. And so it didn't replace front desk agents. It didn't replace salespeople. But what it did is it minimized the amount of front desk agents. It minimized the amount of salespeople. The people that were able to stay through that disruptive transition were the best salespeople, the best revenue managers, the best front desk agents, front office managers, the best reservations managers. They were the best. You went from having 10 to 2 because now you had all this automation that took care of all of this, because you don't have to manually take reservations anymore. Somebody just, or if you do, it's 4 steps instead of the 40 steps that it used to be. But getting back to what I'm saying, we're talking about ChatGPT as a disruptive technology. A lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about are roles and positions that they're not going to disappear. They're just going to be greatly minimized. The number of these roles are going to be greatly minimized, and the people that are going to be filling them roles are going to be highly skilled and highly competent, and not just in the technical competencies and the technical skills. They're going to have the soft skills, they're going to have the emotional intelligence, and they're going to have to have the ability to communicate effectively, the ability to read people, the ability to transfer information. But going back to my example, that's the same thing that happened in the hotel industry and any other industry that has had a disruptive technology introduced to it. Those are the same types of people, same skills that have carried people through that disruption. But anyway, I wanted to throw that flair in there because it happens in every industry. There's a disruptive. Henry Ford, he didn't invent the car. He didn't invent the automobile. The assembly line manufacturing for an automobile disrupted everything. Automobiles existed for years before him, but it was the disruptive technology of his assembly line.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris may be a little young for this, When I was younger, there were these things called travel agents.
Yeah,
And you wanted to go to Greece. You
exactly.
went to the travel agent and you paid the man cash or the woman cash or you used your credit card. They booked a flight for you. You don't hear of any more travel agents anymore, do you, for the most part?
It's spelled
No.
Expedia.
If you do, they are completely boutique and they're worth the money.
Yeah.
If you get it's the same concept. The travel agents that are still able to live as a travel agent, they are really good at what they do.
Yes, they are.
They are really good. I even told my wife, because during the whole transition from the hospitality during the pandemic, that was chaos. I told my wife, I could do it. I could be a travel agent because I like to make people's experiences. Like I like to see people get what they want, which kind of carries over into how excited I get when people get cloud hired now. It's like that same thing. But yeah, I told my wife, I was like, I could do this because it matters to me and it means something to me. But yeah, so yeah, there are still travel agents.
There are
really, really good at what they do.
And that's the thing. 95% of them lost their jobs and businesses, but the 5% are there. They're well traveled. They have relationships with the big hotels and the airlines. They can tell you exactly where to go, how to stay, and really give you an incredible experience. They're not just there, just doing things. They're special. And that's the key to survive in this world. You're going to have to be special. And we're going to show you why the things that are taught in certifications aren't special. They were 20 years ago, but they're in 2003, AWS certifications are just, from a tech perspective, they're nothing what you need. Now, from a packaging perspective, we can talk about how they're very valuable. But from a skill perspective, if you're training as AWS certifications, you've got no career left over. If you're training on how to be great at your job and then you're using AWS certifications to help you get an interview, that's excellent. And we'll show you why.
Before we get to that, I'm not watching the chat box very much tonight, but I did see this. Where did it go? But Hakeem says, just passed my first round of interviewing for data architect position. Thank you, Go Cloud Architects. You guys are awesome. Good
Hakeem,
luck
I'm so happy to hear this.
That's exciting news.
Sure is. That's why we do what we do.
We are rooting for you, Hakeem. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Sure are.
And for anybody else wondering out there, we've got some interview content on our YouTube channel. But, a shameless plug here, we do have a tech interview mastery program that we're going to be releasing soon that's going to be high quality and amazing. You can actually get a copy of our free interview guide in our description. Tyrone, if you want to put a link to that free interview guide in our chat box, that'll be great. Sorry, I didn't even think about those. I just got excited about him passing the first round of an interview.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm so excited to release that program. I've only been on one interview in my entire career that I didn't get an offer from. And my students have gotten offers, and I've had people tell me they earned an additional $50,000 to $100,000 on the job offer they got just from the coaching I have. And it's not just me. I brought in someone that was a chief people officer at a major organization to coach people, senior directors and other people in big tech organizations that have hired thousands of people throughout their career, that have interviewed thousands, that are going to coach people. I'm super excited about it. I'm passionate about when people get hired.
All right. So before we move on to the topic of discussion tonight, I've seen some questions about our program in there. I want to remind everybody, register for our webinar on Thursday. We will talk ad nauseum for 2 hours about our program on the webinar. So there's lots of questions that we could answer, but we want to make sure we address those in the proper form. We're not shy. We just don't want to side rail our conversation for tonight. So make sure to register for the webinar on Thursday and join us. And if you're not able to watch it live, we do have a recording, but you only get it if you register. So make sure to register. Even if you're working 9 to 4 and you can't attend, register so you can get a copy of that recording. So, all right, gentlemen, I am at your discretion. I got videos galore for us to show that unfortunately, I think ChatGPT is still busy, I guess is the word.
It's been on and off all day. So to let you guys all know, ChatGPT is in a beta phase, and Microsoft just invested $10 billion. So imagine how fast it's going to get. So let's talk about some of the things cloud engineers would do. Cloud architects design, present, and sell and are completely immune from ChatGPT, although we'll be designing it. But certifications focus on a few things. One of the things they like to teach you in a certification is how to set up an EC2 instance with a bootstrap script. So, and they may or may not even show it in a certification. But Chris, we've got a video on me asking ChatGPT to write a script to install the Apache web server on an AWS Linux EC2 instance. Could you play that real quick?
Give me just 1 second. So we're doing I got to find the.
And while Chris is looking for this, I want to tell you the roles that are going to be affected. Programmers, what you're going to see in the future is one programmer doing the job of 20 or 30 programmers, and 29 will be laid off, and one will be there, and it'll be a rock star programmer, and we can talk more about that. And what's going to happen is we're going to have one basic junior level people that are basically just printing out all these programs that are written by ChatGPT. Websites are going to be written by ChatGPT. Python scripts will demo it are written by ChatGPT. And you're going to have one superstar that's going to edit them and correct them and lead a team of people. So soft skills, communication skills, executive presence, all that's going to matter. Now, the other thing that you're also going to see is cloud admins. They set up EC2 instances. They do a CloudFormation script. Guess what? We'll show you tonight how. ChatGPT can do an AWS CloudFormation script. Not that anybody would ever use that. Why? Because it's only AWS proprietary, but they teach it in AWS certification. They use Terraform. Guess what? We'll show you how to do it on Terraform tonight too. So we'll show you how I can launch various things. And Chris, I don't have the list in front of me because my web browser crashed. If you can at some point put that in the chat window so we can see the list of videos that we have. And we can walk through it. But we'll show you all the things taught in certifications. And then we'll show you why the things that are taught in certifications are even correct. For example, we saw a certification provider who was charging thousands of dollars for an AWS certification bootcamp tell people he helped them design and actually build an AWS high availability network on a single cloud, which is not high availability, on a single content delivery network, which again isn't high availability either. And even AWS won't use a single content delivery network for themselves. So the things that are in certifications, we have to remember what they are. They're designed to help you, convince you to get really excited about a vendor's technology, so you want to push it and sell it, which may or may not be in the best interest of the customer. And that's why people typically like experience. They want to know that you're not going to do the stuff that's rammed down a certification. You're going to do what's right in reality. So we're going to walk through several examples. But again, this ChatGPT is going to be a major effect for cloud engineers, programmers, cloud admins, sysadmins, and any hands-on technology professional. But when you've got a cloud engineer with soft skills, leadership skills, executive presence, presentation skills, and some business acumen, now they're not an engineer, they're a $300,000 distinguished engineer. And the world needs people with those levels of engineering expertise and communication and leadership ability. So all is not lost for engineers. The key is developing yourself around the new technology. So let's do, for example, let's start with something very simple. Let's go through that, the thing that I asked you to do first is the first one.
The EC2 storage, I think, was what you asked for.
No, actually, let's launch a web server. Launch an Apache web server.
We're gonna go hard. We're gonna go straight for. We're gonna go straight for the gut. Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna go for something that a cloud engineer would do in their job, or a cloud admin would do in their job. That's actually a little bit beyond your typical certification.
All right, let's go. Give me just a second. You said Apache web server, correct?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I told you earlier how hard. I didn't realize how hard it was to control a mouse with a broken pinky.
Yeah, well, I understand that.
Apache web server on Linux. Here we go. Let me remove this banner. Let me get it. All right. Okay.
I asked you to create a bash script.
Let me know when you're ready for me to press play.
Press play. So all I did here was ask it to create a little bash script, kind of like a bootstrap script.
No matter how many times I see this stuff,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
You think about how long people have taken just to find the extra spaces that broke the entire system. and you don't have to worry about that here.
Now, to be clear, there's a company that charges $35,000 for a course that teaches people how to do this and tells their students to blog about this.
Yeah,
I
so
retrained one of their students. His name was Daniel Boso, and he's now working as a cloud architect because what he was taught was completely invalid. But, here's the thing. This would work on Amazon Linux. It would work on Red Hat Linux. It would work on Oracle Linux, too. But that's a cloud engineer's thing, or a sophisticated cloud admin.
And I love how it even just it summarizes it at the bottom. It's like here's what this does, and and then it tells you. It says, note, you'll need to configure the security group attached to your EC2 instance. It's like I don't even know where to begin with that.
It is. Now, in a certification, they typically teach you how to use the console. This management console where you click, click, click here, and it takes you 10 minutes to do anything. Nobody does this in real life. Why? Because it takes too long. It's too complicated. It's too burdensome.
Yeah.
So people either use the command line, or the reality is they have one DevOps engineer deploy the entire thing with infrastructure as code. So let's do something that would be more sophisticated that most people would typically not necessarily learn in a what do you call it? In a certification course. This would be the extra bonus lab that they do to try and prove that they're competent. So Chris,
before we do that, we have a quick question that I didn't even think about before. So Rajesh asks, did you have to install this, or is it through the browser?
Web browser, do nothing.
That's what I thought, chat.
That's all we have to do.
This is all through the web browser. And then it, like in real world application, this is something I would copy. I can't.
You would copy and paste it into your favorite text editor.
Exactly.
VI, Vim, Nano. Some of the coding will be done in VS Code. It doesn't matter. Pick your favorite thing. So now, this is something relatively simple. But here's the thing. ChatGPT is beta 3.5. Microsoft just gave it $10 billion, which is a lot more than it's ever had to begin with. Where do you think this is going to be in 1 year? GPU performance goes up basically 70% per year with NVIDIA and AMD. 70% per year. So if you double something twice, you got 4 times. Double something 3 times, you got 8 times. Double something 4 times, you got 16 times. Within 10 years, we're dealing with 16 to 30 times greater power than we have today just on the GPU. Now, there's a company called Bitmain in China that typically does either special chips for cryptocurrency mining or artificial intelligence, and they make chips. These chips can be 3 to 5 times faster than what we have right now, at even a third of the power. Google has ASICs that are 3 times faster than this. Now, do you think Google is going to allow Microsoft to only invest $10 billion for strategic advantage and not invest 10 or 20 or $30 billion of their own? This is the arms race right now. And you're going to see every tech company, I bet you see $100 billion of investment within the next year or so. John Chambers, he used to be the CEO of Cisco. He's the best tech futurist in the world. He said, this is the year of AI. And it's coming. So why don't we do this, Chris? Let's launch a basic CloudFormation template. Because that's how people really do it. Now, nobody uses CloudFormation. They actually use Terraform. But let's use CloudFormation because that's what they teach in certification. And give me a hashtag ChatGPT in the chat box while Chris does this.
All right. So let's go to hashtag ChatGPT. It's going to take me just a second to get to this next video. All right. And did you say CloudFormation or Terraform?
Let's do CloudFormation because that's what's taught in certification.
Okay. Let me remove this. Oh, there we go. Now we're back. All right. And we're about to go back to the side. All right. CloudFormation. Here we go. All right. And it's just going to play automatically for us when I add it in here. So here we go. So create an AWS CloudFormation script to launch 5 EC2 instances behind an application load balancer. So easy to understand. feel like I should have some like Chariots of Fire music in the background.
That's funny. Now
Is
I
that
can,
is,
now I
it- is
can't
that
get
the
it
right
out of my
name? You
head
know what
now.
I'm talking about, right, Alonso? Is it Chariots
Oh
of
yeah,
Fire?
yeah, it is. Now I can't get it out of my head.
The epic running. It's like, just getting to the finish line, and I'm just sitting here not doing anything.
Or some good elevator music.
Yeah. Wow.
And this is why you're not going to impress anybody by building a portfolio of projects that said I could do this.
I said it before. I've said it again. We just automated copy and pasting OpenStack.
And it could probably do this in that Terraform language as well if we.
But we're going to.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I guess. Oh, we got
TCL.
There's almost never an excuse to do a single cloud unless you want your customer's network to go down. All things fail, all clouds fail. But watch how smart this actually is. It's going to give you a script, and it's going to tell you what it does, and it's even going to tell you what to edit. So this is great. Now, nothing is perfect. I'm going to tell you right now. So it's telling you what to modify.
Wow.
And here's the thing. Instead of a person having to think about this and putting it together for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, because it takes time to think about this, probably an hour for a normal engineer, we've just done this in 45 seconds. Now, somebody good can edit this in about 2 minutes. So by doing 3 minutes versus an hour, we can do this, replace 20 of the admins that are doing this job with a single person. 20, just like that. It's like nothing. And that's why you need more than certification. And we're going to tell you what you need more beyond this. Now, a lot of what they do actually, let's show you even more complicated. Let's make a Terraform script. Nobody uses CloudFormation except for the people that work at AWS. AWS likes to use CloudFormation because it kind of locks you into AWS. Everybody else uses Terraform, and AWS is a great cloud. I mean, I love them. They're a fantastic cloud, but single cloud is a single point of failure. Single internet service provider is a single point of failure. So let's now use a Terraform script, because that's what everybody really uses. That's what your serious cloud engineers and DevOps engineers use. So let's launch a Terraform script.
All right. And before we do that, Desmond Smith says, guys, what happens to accountability if ChatGPT does something wrong that you happen to implement into production? You are at fault because it's your responsibility to test before implementing.
Yep. You got it. Your Q&A.
Just like now. It's your responsibility to test in a test environment before implementing it. So AI is only as good as the people that implement it.
Yep. So and you're at fault either way. So you're more likely to make an error writing your own script and then by yourself from scratch than you are by using this script and editing the script. But if it's a production environment, you're going to test this. And if it's a non-production environment and you're doing it last minute on the fly, you better check your work. Because I know lots of people, whether they be routers or cloud, where they're logging in and they're doing something on the fly, they didn't test it, they didn't read the instructions, and they're done.
They'll try and break it.
Which is why we always say, and this is critical for everyone, never do anything, even if you think you know it, without reading the documentation first. Because when you do, and the documentation or a command change 1%, because that's what happens between versions, and you break something, you're at fault. You're at fault too many times, and unfortunately, replacement thanks you for your job. I wish it wasn't the case, but it's true.
All right. So we're about to do a Terraform one. So Mike, talk about why nobody would use CloudFormation instead of Terraform.
Okay, so here's the thing. In reality, when you're dealing with actual customers, I go to a customer and I talk about their storage with them. Now, if I go to, Alonzo is now my chief information officer. Hey, Alonzo, I got this super exciting storage for you. It's called S3. Put all your stuff there. He's going to laugh me out of the room. Now, if I say, Alonzo, I've got this storage, and we've got 3 storages we could talk about. We can talk about block storage, object storage, and file storage. Now, Alonzo, you're very familiar with file storage because I know you have 10,000 file servers in your data center. And I know you're also using block storage with your servers as well in your VMware environment. And while you've got a little bit of object storage in your data center, let's talk about what object storage really is. It's this great form of storage that's incredibly scalable. What happens is your data is taken, it's broken down into objects, and each object even has some metadata, which is data about the data. Now, because of this metadata, guess what? You can find what you want fast. And you can look for parts of the data instead of the full data. Now, Alonzo, while we're at it, because object storage is basically worm storage, write once, read many times, we can use it for backup and archival purposes, software distribution, and big data environments. It's that metadata which we can talk about if you desire to create a data lake. Now, object storage can't be used by systems because what happens is every time something is modified, it creates a new version. But for big data and your applications, it's fantastic. Now, guess what, Alonzo? I can get you to an environment where we can build you multiple clouds and we can set you up with object storage. It's going to help you so much. AWS calls their thing S3. Oracle calls, Azure calls it blob. And guess what? Google calls it cloud storage, but it's the same thing. Would you like to learn more about cloud storage?
Absolutely, Mike.
Okay. Now, but the thing is, and I was long-winded intentionally, I discussed the tech, I discussed the business benefits, and I didn't discuss in term. Now, if I said to Alonzo, I got this cool thing, it's S3, do I sound like I've got an initiative?
Yes,
do I
you
sound
do.
like I've got your interest at heart, or I'm trying to push somebody else's stuff?
Yeah, you sound like a lobbyist.
A lobbyist.
Yeah.
Now, he's not going to trust me if I'm a lobbyist with this $50 million cloud solution I want to propose as an architect. I can't use those terms. And if I did, Alonzo's a chief information officer. He knows what object storage is. And he's got to ask me, what's the alphabet soup? Seriously, get out of here. So I have to use cloud agnostic, vendor agnostic terms as a real architect and as a real business executive and as a real account manager for those reasons. So because of this, what we're dealing with is we must use industry-specific things. Nobody at this point is going to use a single cloud. 81% of customers 6 months ago were on multiple clouds. Almost everyone, 90+% of CI, chief information officers that run the division, say we're going to be on multiple clouds by the end of the year. The Pentagon just allocated $9 billion for multiple clouds. So you can't just know the name of a service like in a certification. You have to know what the stuff is. And when you're going to deploy things, infrastructure as code, you're going to use Terraform because it'll work on AWS, Azure, Google, your OpenStack cloud, your Nutanix cloud, and all at the same time. So here I asked Terraform, and I don't know how to use Terraform because I'm an architect, and architects don't touch this stuff. They design, present, and sell this stuff. So I decided to see, hey, could I do a DevOps engineer's job with ChatGPT? And I asked it to write a basic Terraform script. So let's see what it did.
I love the simple instructions.
Me too.
Write a Terraform script to deploy a 3-tier web application on AWS. Can't get more simple than that.
And guess what? The natural processing engine in this is so small that if you actually made a spelling error, it's still going to know what you mean. It's going to search through the contextual language. And this is beta before Microsoft's $10 billion investment. Now, I could have asked it to do this on Azure, Google. So while this goes through this,
I was just gonna say, we keep using AWS just mainly because it's the biggest name that most people are familiar with. But yeah, like Mike said, the same thing can be done with anything. With Azure, GCP, AWS.
And the thing that always concerns me about certifications is as follows. Here's the mark of a professional. They know what's going on behind the scenes, how the technology works and why it's beneficial to the customers, how to performance tune it. In a certification, they teach you the name of the service without anything about that service and how to configure it. We can do auto configuration without even knowing what it is, as long as we know what we need to do. I just proved it to you.
And it's still going.
And it's still going.
I wonder if this is indicative of the
load on the servers.
Yeah.
Load on the servers. This thing was set up basically in a shoestring budget, and now it's got $10 billion to go. And believe me, Microsoft isn't the only people that are investing in this technology at this point.
Wow.
It's a little bit slow.
It is. But I mean, hey, it's still accomplishing the goal.
And it's still probably working faster than human effort, though. When you think about any
not even
potential
in the same
problems.
universe. Did I stop recording on my screen too
Yeah, I
fast?
was about to say that the recording ended.
I think I stopped recording too quickly. So I'm not the guy to do screen share, screen recording on my system. But the point is, it can do that. Now,
It was gonna keep going, and it was gonna keep going until it finished the job.
yeah. Then I pause recording. So,
yeah.
Now here's something cool. And then maybe we'll take a break for a minute, and then we'll talk about a few more of these examples. And then from there, I'm going to tell you, how do you use this and build the best career? How do you not be the group that gets laid off and are made redundant, depending upon which country you're in? How do you leverage this technology and learn how to make more money with this technology and learn how to build the best career? Because guess what? It opens new opportunities for you. Why don't we take a break for a minute, let my voice go so I can drink some of my alkaline water here, and then we'll come back in 1 minute.
All right. Well, we got 2 minutes. We'll do 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody. Since we asked for a ChatGPT earlier, give us a hashtag cloud hired in the chat box. We'll be back here in just a few minutes to get back on topic.
Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
All right. So we are back. Thank you for all the cloud hires there in the chat box, everybody.
Cloud hires make my day. We see cloud hires almost every day, and it's the happiest part of my day. And we all put in a ridiculous number of hours around here, and it's purely for the cloud hires. And Robert Welch is cloud hired. We love working with Robert. We still like when he pops around. We love it. Lady Godiva is someone special too as well. As is Derek.
Mr. Houston.
Anthony
Gonzo. Kenya,
fantastic.
Roger.
All right.
Okay, so one of the other things they teach in certifications, for example, is the name of a service and what those things are. So we showed you how ChatGPT configure. Now, this does not mean you don't need to know the cloud. You still need to know the cloud. And you still need to know AWS, Azure, and Google. And it's just the difference of what you need to know versus what's taught in certifications is the different piece. So, for example, let's ask it an AWS storage question. So instead of just knowing what's the name of a service, like maybe what kind of storage would you mount to an EC2 instance if you didn't know what AWS called it? That's the kind of thing they teach in the certification. And trust me, I've asked people that have passed the certification, what kind of storage do I use with mount to a virtual machine? And if I don't use EC2, they don't know. So let's play that question that I asked ChatGPT, Chris. AWS EC2 storage.
All right. So which storage is like a hard drive in an EC2 instance? I'm reading it.
And it's pretty close. It's not exactly network attached storage. I mean, it is network attached storage, but NAS can't. Well, actually, it is network attached storage. I don't need to go into the complexities of storage sharing networks, but yeah, so it actually teaches you that. Now, that's the kind of thing. Now, what if I asked it a multi-cloud question? See, I always would tell you, look, you need to know what the tech is, not what they call it. In fact, I like to tell my students that if you needed to go to buy eggs at the grocery store, I love eating eggs, by the way, and I go to Publix or Whole Foods, but there's an Aldi next door. There's a Jamaican supermarket I go to once a week to get all my Jamaican supplies called Bravo. It's the coolest place in there ever, and I can buy eggs at every last one of them. So let's ask if ChatGPT is smart enough to know what's taught in certifications, the name of this object storage. So Chris, play the object storage in AWS, Azure, and Google, because now we're getting smarter than the certification itself.
All right.
Yeah.
This may not be the right one. Let me see. Nope, that is not it.
This is a certification question. What kind of storage should I use?
Okay, so I clicked the wrong one, everybody. So we're going to go with the beauty of live TV. What AWS storage should I use for a high-performance database on an EC2 instance? Not the question Mike wanted, but like you said, it's just another certification exam.
Sure is.
So.
Is that playing? Oh, here we go. When I was younger, I didn't realize every CEO seemed to have a short attention span and be impatient. And that's somehow I fell into this role. Got the same, hey, wait, it's taking 3 seconds. What's going on here?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd say that is a pretty good answer there.
Yeah. And now there's one, it's called object storage on AWS, Azure, and GCP. Now we're getting smarter. Now I'm going to basically say I want object storage. What do the vendors call it? This goes back to what do they call it? Because AWS would have the elastic egg, Azure would have the Azure egg, and Google would call it the cloud-based egg if we follow their marketing conventions, but it's still an egg. Now, personally, I like my brown free-range eggs that are going out there. It seems the chickens are a little happier. My wife likes the omega-3 eggs. I don't care.
All right, give me a second here. This is the one that I should have played a minute ago.
It's okay. It's all good.
All right. Oh, disappeared the question. What is the equivalent of object storage on AWS, Azure, and Google Clouds? So we got S3, we got Blob, and we got Google Cloud Storage.
Right.
And then it doesn't just tell me what they are. It then goes on to say what they are, like more information about them, not just what their names are. Wow.
Now let's get a little more intelligent than what's taught in the certification. And I asked it about multi-cloud. And Chris, I don't know if I recorded it, but there was one that I did on content delivery networks, a video that I took. I don't know if I recorded that. And if I didn't, don't worry about it.
Which one is it?
There's one on content delivery networks, CDNs.
Okay, yeah.
So now we're getting smarter than certifications.
All right, so let's go multiple CDNs.
Because in certification, they teach you to use one, like CloudFront. Google has their own CDN, Azure has their own CDN, and they like to push one. So I asked it why I shouldn't use a single CDN. There you go. I asked it for a high availability website. Do I need more than one content delivery network? And it said it's generally recommended to use multiple content delivery networks for high availability websites to ensure your website remains accessible even if one of your CDNs experiences an outage. And then it gives you more information. See, when employers say, I want experience, they don't care about experience, they care about competency. But they don't want you to do what's taught in a certification, which is block them into these single points of failure. Because certifications have a goal. Teach you how to use the proprietary stuff, get you addicted to selling the proprietary stuff, and forget about all the other cool things that are out there. Look, the reality is, it's not an AWS certification, a Google certification, a Cisco certification, a Microsoft certification. Every vendor's best interest is to sell their own stuff. But here's what it really is going to look like in reality. You're going to have Palo Alto or Fortinet or Checkpoint or Cisco firewalls, not the stuff that's cloud native because it's not next generation. Then you're going to have multiple clouds that exist out there. You're going to be using multiple content delivery networks. Amazon does it themselves. Every other cloud provider does too, because they need it. You're going to have multiple sets of internet service providers, multiple WAN providers that are connecting to the cloud. You're going to have different identity and access management platforms that are going to be on the cloud. You're going to be using zero trust and other things that are part of your architecture. You're going to be using different encryption strategies. You're going to have so many different things that are not part of the cloud. You're going to be using industrial databases. You're going to be creating data lakes, and it's not going to be something that's taught in the certification. You're going to be having your relational databases, your NoSQL databases, your data warehouses, and somebody's going to write a Python Spark script, and they're going to tie it into object stores, and they're going to be creating landing zones, and they're going to be normalizing that and cataloging the data. There's so much more that goes into these things. And that's where we're trying to go. That's why employers want to know you've got more than certification. And that's why we've got people that get senior solution architect jobs as their first tech job when they've never worked in tech before, or enterprise architect jobs, which are even bigger jobs and they've never worked in tech before, because we're teaching that and they go on an interview and they're there. So now let's ask it a multi-cloud question. I think I made a multi-cloud video.
You did? Give me just a second. I got clamped. I'm having to clean things up here. I got too many things.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that's like. I can't even see the YouTube chat, basically, the way I have this room set up. I can only see the screen, so there's less things to distract me.
All right, let's see here. You said the multi-cloud question?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So for a mission critical system, should I use 2 cloud providers?
Okay, so the thing is, you got a bank, you got a hospital. You can't use a single cloud provider. If it's at a hospital and you use a single cloud and it goes down, people are dying. Imagine the airports on a single cloud provider. Cloud provider goes down, planes are falling out of the sky. This is not a good thing. Imagine the entire US military on a single thing. An enemy hacks into this and they launch missiles and we can't even defend ourselves. So mission critical systems always need to be on multiple clouds.
So oh, sorry. I thought you were finished.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was going to say, so we're seeing here that this AI is able to answer these general questions the appropriate way. What's the implication for people that have this competency and more? How do they differ? Like, where are they going to set themselves apart?
And that's the key secret, which I wanted to get. We can probably knock the screen down so we can go full screen.
Okay.
How do you stay competitive in today's world? If this is all you know,
I
hate delivering bad news, and I practiced medicine for a while, so I'm used to doing it. You're in trouble. 8 out of 10 of you, if this is all your skills are, will be laid off, made redundant, and that's it. And you're going to have to find a new career because it's a new skill that's no longer needed. But here's the big but. If you know how this stuff works, now you're not just certified, you're competent. And here's the thing, when you know how it works, and that's the difference between an engineer and an admin. The engineer knows how it works. And if you've got some depth with you, if you haven't gotten 10 certifications, but you've got one thing and you know it well, now this is good. So, I was teaching a class today and I was teaching high availability systems. I'm a Cisco certified internet expert with 25 years networking experience. And I used to teach engineers at Cisco and Riverstone, which is now Alcatel Lucas, WorldCom, which is now Verizon. So I've been teaching network engineers for 20 years. I had a student in my class today that has more experience on software-defined networking, also a CCI. And I said, you teach this. And he said, but I said, you know this better than me. And he did know it better than me. Why? Because that's been his area of focus for the last 8 years, where mine was on BGP and IP multicast. And I can introduce you to 50 other network engineers that have completely different skills than me, and they know it well. And they're indispensable. And many of these people earn $400,000 or $500,000 a year just as network engineers because they know it and they know it well. So learn how the technology works. Learn how to performance tune the technology. You know how the people take a Honda Civic and they turn it into this race car to do quarter-mile things? What was that movie, Fast and the Furious? But the people that can do that kind of mechanic work, they're experts. So learn how to make the cloud sing. When certifications and they teach you block storage is fast, look, block storage is pathetically slow. Learn how to tune it. Now, if you understand how to create these fancy RAID volumes to get around block storage's performance, now you're on to somebody. Now it comes to big data. Hakeem was talking about passing his first data round, right? If Hakeem understands mapping and reduction functions and data cataloging functions, and he understands these types of databases, we can't replace that knowledge. It's irreplaceable. AI can't do that. AI can do basic things like configuration. AI can't performance tune. Now, if you asked me how to design a 20,000 remote office location, AI can't do that. AI can't think about the IP addressing plan for that. Some network engineer can, though. AI can't think about how to route that and where the routers are going to break and the performance tuning that needs to occur. AI can't design the security of your systems. You can't ask AI to design a holistic security system because it doesn't understand the vulnerabilities. You can't ask AI to come in. Hey, Alonzo, how you doing today? You doing good?
Right.
Alonzo, you're looking really handsome, really sharp, really muscular. You've been working out? And then go to that thing and build a relationship. And then after I build that relationship, ask them some questions to get a little bit of information. And then go to next and hack into the system. AI can't do that. A human. And, it takes a human to be able to look at that template and go, not exactly right. But if your skills are basic, only what's taught in certifications, you don't have that depth. But if you take a certification, take the professional or expert one, and then use that as your starting point, and you focus on that area in your career, you're irreplaceable.
Yeah.
For example, I know Praveen is a big data architect. We trained him now as a cloud architect. If I've got a big data question, there's no one that I know that can do it as good as him. No one. And his level of knowledge is out there. Now, I'm going to design systems for the battlefield, right? I might be an architect that's designing for things. Might I ask some Marines what they do in their job? Might I ask some Army people what they do in their job? Might I ask some Raiders and Navy SEALs while we're at it, and some Navy people and some Air Force people? Sure. Now, AI can't do that. AI can't build the relationships with the people, ask the questions. AI can't then design the thing and ask the experts, hey, is this going to work with your workflow? AI can't do that. AI can't go to Chris and then figure out what Chris's management challenges are to run our operations. And believe me, he's got lots of challenges and the genius trying to figure them out. And on half of his challenges, Chris, can we do this by tomorrow? Oh, wait, change my mind. Can we do this thing by tomorrow? But somebody, if that's the reality of Chris's life, and to some degree it is, although I've gotten more mature and I'm better about it, he needs somebody that can say, hey, when you got a CEO with ADD that has 42 ideas in their head because they're the Energizer Bunny, I got a tool to help you. He might be interested, but if they can't figure out that he's got that challenge in his life, they can't do it. So the key is those things. Depth of knowledge is going to protect you, because AI can never get deep. People that get 10 certifications, AI can do a better job than that because they never have a chance to focus on anything. So learn what you do and learn it well. 2. Go ahead, Chris.
Do what?
You were going to say something?
No, I was trying not to burp.
Okay. So the next thing that the tech can't do, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody's good enough to design anything on their own or truly build out an entire system on their own. Nobody. No one. And anybody that thinks they are is a fool. This is a team sport. The other night I was talking to a pro football player, and I don't know football well enough, but it's a really cool sport. And each football player plays a position for a reason. Now, when they compete in gymnastics, somebody's the best on the beam, somebody's the best on the bars, for example. For a reason, it's a team sport. Well, that's a team and an individual sport, but architecture is a team sport. I promise you, you can't ever do it on your own. And even if you tried, hey, Alonzo, guess what? I got 30 years experience and I designed your system for you, and I'm one of the best. Okay, now look at him. He already smart enough to know that don't deal with Mike. Now, Alonzo, let me tell you about this architecture. I work for Azure, or I work for AWS, because I'm hard on AWS sometimes because of their certification thing. I work for AWS. You know, I got back to my team. I spoke to 3 business experts. I spoke to 5 security experts, 3 cloud networking experts, a NoSQL database expert, a relational database experts, 3 big data architects. On top of this, I spoke to the storage team and worked around how we can get to your solutions. I then spoke to the team that's worked with the largest clients in the world, so we can build you the most high-performance system. Would you like to learn more about my architecture?
Absolutely, Mike. I like we prefer competitive analysis on what's going to be best for the organization.
And here's the difference. In one case, I pretended to be smart. In another case, I brought all the best and brightest with me. Now, that's the difference. So if you don't have soft skills, you're not going to get anybody to work with you. There was a really great movie, video, book. I never read the books. I read 3 professional books a week, but I've never read a novel in my life. Was it Tom Sawyer, where he had to paint the fence white? They called it whitewashing the fence. Yeah. And he convinced his friends to do it for him, that it was a game. So look how smart Tom Sawyer was. He had his friends do it. And that's what this is like. Build a team. So if you've got soft skills, you can build a team. If you've got emotional intelligence, when Chris looks unhappy, I might be able to approach Chris with the right manner and say what's going on and try to find a solution. If I'm not, hey, Chris, you cheer up and get to work. I mean, that's not going to work. You leave in about 3 seconds. He's too good to be dealt with like that. You can't do that with professional people. And, so you need emotional intelligence in these jobs. Now, here's the thing. There's 2 ways you can lead people. One that works and one which doesn't work. You can lead with an iron fist, do this or you're fired. I promise you, you will not have anybody good in your team for more than a couple days, because they will all have new jobs. Or you can try to have people want to do the best things because you like them, you know them, and you figure out what they want to do, and you bring out the best in others. Different thing. Now, in a battle, I can say, meet me at XYZ coordinates at this time, and you do this. In an emergency situation in the hospital, look, you get on compressions, you intubate, you push the lidocaine. That's okay. But in an emergency, not reality. So you need the leadership skills to get there.
All right, Mike, you're cut off. So, sorry, you keep talking and talking and talking, and we're going to need you back up off camera.
And that's a good point. I just want everybody to know how to get hired and earn more in these challenging environments.
I know. We just got we're going long on the timer there, Mike.
You can't get the timer without a buzzer. We don't want to do that stuff.
Yeah, I put the buzzer away. I'm going to have to bring it back out now. There was an interesting thing that I read yesterday, and it wasn't yesterday. It was this weekend, I guess, at this point. And I think it's applicable here. So if anybody's familiar with military aviation, even just a little bit, they're probably familiar with the SR-71, which is one of the first, if not the first, long-range supersonic jets that was developed, and it was developed in the 1960s. So they were developed just like the missions to the moon were developed, without computers. They were developed by hand and on paper and with pencils. And it was interesting. The article that I read yesterday was a study about how would it be developed now. So Lockheed, one of their partners, decided to submit the design of the SR-71 to their AI that is currently part of their design process in today's designs, to see how it would change or redesign the SR-71. And the result was that there would be no changes. So one of the theories is that because humans designed it, humans knew humans' faults, and the things that humans could accidentally do or do incorrectly or mess up or not do just right. And so I see the tail. But the theory is that because humans knew the vulnerabilities of human nature, of humankind, of mankind, in both the building and designing and construction and engineering and flying of these machines, that they built in the safeguards, so to speak, to account for all of these things. And AI, because humans built in all of those measures in the design of that piece of technology, AI didn't see any need for improvement on a 50-year-old design. I thought that was very interesting. And it makes me wonder what AI from 50 years, like if Lockheed did the same thing 50 years from now with a machine that was designed with AI input now. And then I wonder if the AI would be like, nah, we could have done better. The AI could have done better if we had only had humans. But it got me thinking about, the human touch, whether it's with other people or with machines. That human touch, that human input can't be replaced, no matter how highly developed AI gets.
The human touch can be replaced, and that's such a good example. Sorry if I was a little happy for a little. My cat came to visit me, and I have 3 pictures of me in the last 20 years and about 5,000 pictures of my cat in the last 2 years. And she just came in to say hi. And let me tell you, what's really cool, and then we'll get back to the topic at hand. My cat likes this room and will come in here, but as soon as she hears people speaking on the TV, she gets scared. Now, if the TV's playing, it's totally fine. But when she hears voices, she runs out until 45 minutes later. She's like, oh, it's okay. That's Chris. I know Chris, his voice. Yeah, I can come in. It's safe.
Alonzo, you got anything that you want to share before we start getting back to? I'm sure you've had some ideas hit your brain. Darren,
I was
colloquy.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, well, how would it interact with understanding the nuances with BGP? When it thinks about how it would connect, what are its thoughts about the differences between TCP, UDP, the variations that come with it, how would it, what kind of example would add? I'm just going through the scenarios on how I would try to trip it up.
And that's so well put. Now, if I ask it, this application and it needs as real-time video, which how to use TCP or UDP, is smart enough. That it can do. Now, if I ask it another basic, just how does BGP work, it can answer that. If I ask it, what is the algorithm, or if I ask it, how does TCP select a path, it can answer that too. Yes. What it can't do is say, I've got 50 internet service providers and I need to set up the BGP peering. which way can I do this and make it scale? What's the way to do this that if this service provider's routes keep flopping, it doesn't cause a disruption in the internet? And to think about BGP dampening and all these things. So the big, deep architecture piece, it can't do. The detailed engineering piece, it still can't do. But send me the router configurations to appear with this and advertise these routes. Oh, I can do that. And again, that's why it's the depth which is so special versus the how-to. The how-to once mattered, but it doesn't matter anymore because this can do all the how-to. It's like having a thing in your house that could screw in the screws. Now, you still need to
All right, Mike. A thing in the house that can screw in the screws.
Yeah, well, let's say you had a machine that can screw in screws.
Okay, a machine. All right.
And it could do it automatically. That's great, right? But, that would be helpful for me because I don't know how to use a screwdriver.
Hey, there we go. We know what a screwdriver is. Okay.
But, the point is that the carpenter would still, or the building architect still has to say, hey, Mike, you can't have a roof that's flat in Florida because it's going to leak when it rains. This thing needs to be this way. The 4-foot ceilings that you thought about, Mike, you're probably not going to work because you're 6 feet tall. So it needs the human to actually supervise it and figure out what needs to be done and why it needs to be, not the how-to.
Sorry, the boy from Mississippi talking about this.
Chris did help me with my office one day when it came to some tools and things because I don't know how to use any tool whatsoever.
All right. So before we get to some more examples, I do want to take a couple of the questions that came in the chat box because I thought they were appropriate. So I want to start off with this one. So Desmond says, once ChatGPT is widely used, how will interviews change if they know you have access to ChatGPT and can find the answer? Will you still be subject to the whiteboards? Will depth be needed?
Okay, Desmond, I'm going to answer this right now. There were some crazy people that were advising people to write down answers for questions. Okay. Well,
no, they were not. They were telling them to Google it on the internet.
Yeah, they were telling them to stay home and Google it. So, Desmond, Alonzo, I'm gonna read this to you. Once ChatGPT is widely used, how will interviews change if they don't know how to access? Do you feel like I'm talking to you? No. And that's the thing. If you Google it or research it and give me a cookie cutter answer like that, guess what? Interview is over. Goodbye. In the first 3 seconds, the interview is done. If you're not looking at me, connecting to me, and we don't have rapport, I don't care what you have to say. It's irrelevant. It could be right, it could be wrong, and be anywhere in between. So first, if you have a chance to interview in person, take it. There's a reason meetings for billion-dollar deals happen in person, because it makes a bigger impact if you're in person. And secondly, if you're not looking at that interviewer the entire time, and you're not reading their body language, you're not going to know when to talk and when not to talk. And by the way, most of these jobs have an $80,000 to $100,000 pay range on the interview. And you know what determines that? Not your experience, how well you impress them on the interview, which determines how good they think you are. So when you look at someone, and I actually have a little ball where my camera is, but my wife took it down because she didn't realize the cat ball that I had placed on the camera where the camera screen is, so we have to fix that, is there. But if they don't see you looking at that camera, then you're not connected to them. If it looks like you're looking to the computer screen, interview's over, interview's gone. And, now, Chris, Alonzo, tell me something. Alonzo,
the Sixers are a horrible team.
why should I hire you, Alonzo? Alonzo is awesome. So,
well, Mike, first of all, I want to say thank you for your time and giving me this interview. I'd like to learn a little bit about myself and how I can maximize my position for this organization. First,
no offend me, Babel. No babble.
So, Mike, I think based on my certifications and understanding S3, which is applicable to AWS, and how I am able to plug in Blob.
If you're looking at ChatGPT, you missed that. Now, Alonzo's keen on body language, and he saw it, but I asked him to intentionally avoid it. If you're not reading, if I cross my arms, it's telling you something. Stop.
Yeah.
If I'm leaning in, I'm excited. Part of the interview is knowing how to read the interviewer and read the room. You're looking at your computer screen and not them. Interview's done. Yeah. It's going to be potluck versus strategy. But great question.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, my father is a college professor, and I know a lot of professors, they're literally on the verge of getting rid of written exams and or not written exams. Written exams wouldn't be affected by this because it's handwriting, but using the online exam portals, and some of them are already like, I'm going back to oral and written exams. I'm not going to take this ChatGPT doing these exams because people are using it. So when you got college professors who would rather deal with hundreds of oral and written exams versus somebody utilizing ChatGPT on their online testing platform, it's not long after that interviews are probably going to get back to what interviews are supposed to be. And that is you with another person or people having a real interaction to determine your competency and qualifications and whether you fit within the organization. ChatGPT can't do that.
Nope.
No.
Another question.
Yeah. That'll be cool to ask ChatGPT, sell me a pen and see what it says. Because it wouldn't understand the market. And that's a very simplistic question, but there's so many nuances and factors that go into that question.
Yeah. And while you're at it, ChatGPT is not human. What are you trying to do on the interview? You're trying to sell them why they need you.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
in every
it's not
answer,
the Wall Street at all.
Yeah.
So Bliss says, is it possible for an AI to choose a team of great architects for a critical design?
No. Here's the reason. It's human. Now, a couple things go on here, Bliss.
It's not human.
It's not human. Now, the first thing, it doesn't matter who's great. It matters who's good enough and who works together to form a great team.
Yep.
You can have an entire team of the best. I could pick, let's say, football players. I could say, this is the best quarterback. This is the best running back. These are the best defensive linemen, defensive linemen, and put them on a field, and they're going to play horribly together because they're not a good team. It's the same reason why if somebody played the flute and somebody else played the violins and somebody else played the drums, and I put them in the room and said, you're an orchestra today, congratulations, they'd be like, huh, what? And it would sound terrible. Architects are humans. I need to know what Alonzo's things are, and Alonzo and I are really kind of too much the same. And we need someone like Chris to kind of fix us from doing the same thing. And we both need that. And I got somebody else on my team that's in between Chris and Alonzo and me. And the point is we build the team, and each person has to have their own strengths and weakness. It's the human side, not just the tech side. The tech itself is nothing. It's how the tech can apply the business and how the humans do this. And it's also related to workflow. The AI can't determine how people need to work or how they work and design tech to do that. That's human too. So no, architects are safe from all this. These tools just give them more things to do to make the architecture better, faster, and cheaper.
Yeah, I think this question reminds me, and I know Mike has no clue, but Alonzo, like Madden or FIFA or NCAA football, where you've got your attributes and your stats and your I'm picturing AI trying to like measure up architects on their stats. Different things. But again, it can't get the unmeasurable.
It can't.
But I'm picturing this person's networking is a 99 out of 100. This person's storage knowledge is a 45 out of 100.
Right. Or, tell ChatGPT, I can never get ChatGPT, pick the right Super Bowl squares that I can, so I can get the bowl, so I can pick my squares, and it wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just imagining having like 10 attributes for every architect and trying to build the dream team in NBA 2K.
You're doing work anyway, right? Did it recommend it?
And Bliss, there's so much that goes into what makes a great architect. Some people have great architecture skills in a specialty. Some people just bring out the best in others. And if I've got one person, they don't know anything about architecture, but they can make everybody else perform 3 times better, they're welcome on my team at all because they raise the output. So they're called an energizer. And it's one of the things employers look to hire as well, energizers.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's I mean, I think, it can, to a degree, it can do some of this stuff. Like I said, if all you cared about was on paper who the best is, AI will figure that out.
Yeah.
But do they work together well? Do they work well with others? Is that attribute in there? Do they work well with that person? Have they had a problem with that person in the past?
Right.
There's going to be limitations. I mean, AI is going to learn. It will improve, but there's going to always be a ceiling. Humans are always uncontrollable, and that's and at the end of the day, everything that we're talking about, whether it's a business, even if it's AI, humans are behind it. So even the AI, to a degree, is going to have some kind of bias. I saw somebody say there in the chat box, because the humans behind it, subconsciously or unconsciously, there's going to be something in there. Could be just a minuscule 0.1% of bias towards something,
Always will be.
or away from something. Let me see if I've got another good question in here before we get to the. Yeah, there was the comment. AI still has to be programmed, and the bias of the programmer plays a role. Exactly.
Yep.
Even no matter how small, there's going to be something.
The scariest part is when AI can actually do the coding itself. And once it starts to learn, like even these machine learning algorithms by Google, at some point you write an algorithm and you don't even know what the AI is doing because it's learning by itself.
Yep. All right, let's see if we've got. All right, so we got any other? Well, let's address this question because we get asked this question every single day. I'm trying not to take questions about our program, so this one is not about our program.
Okay.
But this is an important one. Lions Cypher says, so my question is, how do you address the glut of hiring managers asking for development skills from cloud infrastructure as a service architect? So that's a very specific question.
Yeah.
About a very specific type of architect.
So as a rule, cloud architects don't code and no architect codes. But if you're an infrastructure as a service architect, actually, you're never going to be asked to code. So let's go two things. So I've never seen a hiring manager ask these questions for a real architect. In fact, what you'll see is two kinds of things. Now, I will tell you this. If you've got development skills on your resume, or you've got an AWS developer cert, or you've got Python scripting, they're going to ask you 1,000,001 of these things.
Yeah.
In fact, Cypher.
I was going to, real interjection here. Just like me having hotel experience in my background, even if I go interview for something in machine learning, I'm going to get asked about hotels. Like, it's inherent. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get asked about what's on my resume. Sorry, that's concrete. Anybody's going to get asked about what's on their resume. So if you don't want to get asked about it.
Yeah, and I've been an architect now for 25 years. Only one person one time asked me, his name was Malesh. And he asked me if I could code, and I said, no, I'm an architect. I design solutions. And they hired me anyway. Now, for example, we've had a tremendous number of students that say, I keep getting asked about coding, I keep getting asked about this, and I say, show me your resume. And they've got all this tech jargon written all over the resume. If your resume looks like it's full of tech jargon, you're going to get asked deep engineering questions. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to ask you something on your resume that you've got written there. And if you don't know it, they're going to pummel you with questions. We had a really great architect we trained, and this guy did know how to code. His name was Arun. Loved the guy. He was our student. He was tech obsessed. I said, architects are business. He was tech obsessed. I'm doing this certification. I'm doing this thing. I'm right.
I think you're underselling it. He was tech obsessed. Like he loved it.
He was tech obsessed. I mean, if there was ever a guy that was going to ask me a tech question in class, he was going to go so deep. And I was like, Arun, why are you trying to do this? You want to be an architect, right? I think he was an IIT graduate. He was a techie. And then one day he's like, I keep getting asked tech stuff. Unlike your people, I don't know why. And I said, Arun, I said, I've been trying to get you to focus on the business. I said, this class is dedicated to you. We're going to do your resume in class if you'll allow me. He's like, Mike, I'm tired of going in interviews and not getting hired. And I took up like a DevOps and a SysOps certification on his resume and a developer thing because it didn't belong there. I got rid of 90% of all software development that was on there. Now, he did write an application or two, and I talked about the business benefit of that application. Got rid of all the tech nonsense because it didn't belong there in an architect's resume. He had 3 job offers within a month. He accepted the best, which was working for an incredible service provider in Canada. He moved on to an even bigger and better job. And the last few times I talked to him, he was having dinner meetings at bars as an architect at taverns instead, taking clients for drinks, saying, Mike, oh my God, this is the best job I ever had. I just learned how to reframe my resume and reframe my way of thinking. So the key is, I've been an architect forever. Yesterday, I had somebody that was hired as a senior solution architect at a major Big 4 consulting firm. He doesn't know how to write code. We had Delroy Batt come on the show. He doesn't write code. We had, what's his name?
Today, Wallace's video today, point blank. He's like, no, I do not code. I present, sell, and it buys.
Yeah, and he's got his first architect job, and this is his first tech job, which we got. We had Jennifer, who's now at JP Morgan Chase. She doesn't code. We have Daniel Bosu, who doesn't code. I can give you hundreds and hundreds. One of my students, Ian, in England, I told him he would never touch the technology. And you know what he said to me? He says, I'm going to. You know, he says later, he says, Mike, am I ever going to do anything other than writing statements of work, meeting with clients, and take people to dinners? And I said, no. He's like, now it's a year later. And he's like, Mike, I'm now on the fast track program. I'm even a bigger thing. He said, I can't believe I'd go to a place that people normally take 8 to 10 years to get to. And I said, you got rid of all that tech stuff from your resume too. And he says, yeah, I don't do that. So that's the thing. Make your resume look like an architect. An architect helps businesses improve their business performance with technology. Technology is not our focus. That's what engineers do. Business is our focus.
All right. So I think we've got a couple of more examples of some things that that you shared with me. If you want to go through those before we finish up for tonight.
While we're at it, I'm an architect, so I don't code. I heard this Python language is pretty cool. So I actually asked it to do 2 Python scripts. One was a hello world, just because everybody talks about that, and one was a random number generator. Chris, I don't know which one I actually sent you.
Well, it said plural Python scripts, so
okay, good.
We'll see if you did them both in one video. Who knows?
No, I made 2 separate videos for them.
Oh, okay. So this one says Python scripts. That's all.
Let's see what it is.
Let's see what it is. All right. This is so write a hello world Python script. Well, that was easy. I love the level of detail. It explains what the print function does. Wow. Here you go. You did do them back to back. So write a Python script, random secure password generator.
Oh, good.
See, it even understands your unfinished language that you send me things. Like there's some words missing in that. Write a Python script to generate a random secure password generator, or to create. Like I would look at you like I'm missing some context here.
Now I'm going to tell you who's going to make a lot of money on this for a short period of time. The people that work on Fiverr or on Upwork and you pay them $50 to write a Python script. Yep. These folks can generate 100 scripts a day if they can find the clients.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, but what you just said is the whole thing about the programmers and the engineers that we're talking about. Like, you know, honestly, I don't have any idea how long it takes a programmer or engineer to do anything. But let's say it takes 10 programmers an entire day to do something, and you get 10 things done. Well, now you can get one programmer to do it 10 different times in a fraction of the time.
Exactly.
It's so, yeah.
And here's something very different. A lot of programmers go to Google or
Right. Yeah.
other
OpenStack.
things.
Is it
So when you
OpenStack?
go to Google and look for something, it's about like going to Reddit and asking a question where you ask a question, you get out of 100 responses, one's correct and 99 are wrong. And, I don't want to be getting my code from that and be spending all day trying to debug which is the worst idea to try and find the one that's right. So, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. This is a quality place to start for the most part. And this is still in beta. I mean, just beta. It's not out of beta. And with $10 billion extra from Microsoft and lots of other companies, just think about how big it can get. So what else did we go through here? We did some CloudFormations. We did an Apache web server. We asked why multi-cloud. We asked storage scripts. We asked Python scripts.
I got a couple more.
Go through a couple more.
Yeah. I want to apologize to everybody. I've been saying OpenStack all night. I've been meaning Stack Overflow. I apologize about that. I don't know. I was saying the wrong stack.
OpenStack is a private cloud that we teach all our students. Every one of our students builds a cloud from scratch because while others are working on the name of the service, I want my people to know how to build AWS or how to build Azure or how to build Google. And
Stack Overflow is where everybody goes to copy their code.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what every time I've been saying copy and paste from OpenStack, I've been meaning copy and paste from Stack Overflow. I apologize about that. All right, next video. Hopefully some people knew what I meant, but we'll see. All right, let's see. What do we have? We have so I've got one that's about AWS Hub and Spoke.
Oh yeah, I asked it how to do it.
Oh, you asked it how to do it. Okay. All right.
I wanted to see if it was that smart, if it could tell me even what to do.
All right. How can I create hub and spoke transitive routing with AWS VPCs? People, I keep seeing the question about ask GPT some questions you'd ask a cloud architect during an interview. We've been giving examples. The alternative to this is the correct way.
Yeah, it can't do it. And I did ask it similar things, but it gave me silly answers.
Yeah, but this is an example. You could get asked this question in an interview, but it's about the way that you answer it. And Alonzo and Mike did an example of the difference between the two.
Yeah,
it's very ChatGPT produces very fat boom, 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 like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 responses, whereas an architect would include the nuance and the caveats and the considerations in their response.
Exactly, and here's the difference. So, Chris, now you're the Chief Information Officer.
Oh boy.
Chris just asked me how to secure his web application. Now, this is reality. Chris is going to say, how do I secure my web application? The first thing I'm going to ask Chris is, how critical is your web application to your business? You need to answer.
So how do I secure my web application?
If he's going to ask me that, the first question I ask Chris is, how critical is the web application to your business? Okay.
It's probably pretty critical. I'm not too sure. I'm new in my job. I'm just kidding. It's very critical. We deal with life and death results based on the information that we take in.
Okay, life and death results. Now, here's the difference. Now give me a different response. I'm going to say how the architect needs to adapt. Chris, I got ask me how to secure the website for mycatcindy.com.
That was going to be my alternative. How do I secure the website for mycatsunny.com?
How critical is your mycatsunny.com website?
Well, to me, it's critical, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important if people get pictures of my cat.
Okay, so Chris, we've been talking about AWS. I'm going to recommend a single cloud for you because if the pictures of your cat go down, it's not that critical. AWS has this great little web-based action firewall called WAF. We can use a content delivery network to make sure your cat Sunny's all over the world, and we can protect DDoS with Shield. We'll create an access control list to protect your subnets. You can use a security group, and you'll be good to go. Now, Chris, I'm like, Chris, now I'll go to the other one. Chris, how critical is, ask me about the critical website. Chris, how critical is your website?
Extremely critical. People could live and die based off the decisions that are made off this information.
Okay, now, Chris, what we're going to do is something really robust. We're going to have to use multiple vendors to make sure it's going to work. At the perimeter of your network, we're going to use a network load balancer, and I'm going to recommend 2 Palo Alto firewalls because they can adapt to threats. One level of firewalls is not good enough. I want to use a second set of firewalls in case anything breaches the Palo Alto firewalls. We can recommend either a Checkpoint, a Cisco, or a Fortinet set of firewalls. Beyond that, we want to use another set of network load balance to use intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system. Yes, it's clear that the other firewalls have this capacity, but this is going to give us much more intelligence going into it. We'll talk about that. Beyond that, in your demilitarized zone, we're going to use an access control list to protect your subnet. We're going to use a security group, which is basically like a host-based firewall on your web server. Now, on your web servers itself, what we're going to do is disable unnecessary services. We're going to patch them. We're going to add some anti-malware. We're also going to add a host-based firewall. And that's going to give us, we're going to encrypt all the storage information that's on this firewall. Now, you notice I talked about putting those intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems. One of the things that we're going to get is we're going to get a tremendous amount of logging. So we can take these logs and we can put these logs into a tool like Power BI, and we can actually visualize what's going on in your network to see what threats are happening before even your systems can catch it. Notice how my thing changed based upon the business requirements change. The business requirements determine the architecture, and the AI can't do that interrogation. And AI, on an interview, you're required to ask those questions, because if you don't, you look like a techie. And the architect only knows to ask the right questions to even get the right information. So that's why it can't do an architect interview. It can only do an interview. Now, if I'm on an architect interview and I didn't ask those clarifying questions to Chris, interview's over. Because I just showed that I don't even know how to solve the problem because I don't know how to get the requirements.
And most people aren't going to want to do that with AI.
No.
Right. Oh, and personal is that.
They want to do that with me or Mike or Alonso or Arun over a steak and a beer or a steak and wine. They don't want to do it with AI and have to type something into a machine or go through an intermediary like their administrative assistant or their or an engineer and say, they don't want a formulaic Q&A. Well, here's my question, here's the answer. Here's the question, here's the answer. Humans don't want that. You'll find some that do. Obviously, there's always some there's always people that do want to interact with it like that. But do people really want to place their orders at McDonald's on the touch screen? No. They do not. It's frustrating as all get out. They want to place their order with a person. That's why you see so many people utilizing the drive-thru, because at least they still get to talk to a person at the drive-thru. Going inside McDonald's now is nobody does it because they have to interact with the machine.
Why do you think people go to a bank? They want to deal with a person.
Yeah. I mean, I for one, love that I live a block from my bank. I can just walk straight in there and deal with people. But yeah, so asking Chat to see if ChatGPT can give answers and things like that. Yes, they can give answers. But are they the ones that are they the answers that are going to work?
No.
Are they the answers that are going to convince people? Are they going to sell somebody? Are they truly going to sell somebody on $1 billion solution? Anyway.
And Chris made a very good point. Much of this is done over dinner and golf. Pretty much any elite architect I know spends about $100,000 a year entertaining their clients, meeting with their clients. That's corporate credit card. The companies pay for it. I worked at one company and they called me into the office and they said, Mike, you only spent $3,000 this month entertaining clients. What's wrong with you? Go out there and spend some money. And they were like, if you're not in front of your clients enough, they're not going to want to buy your stuff. And I'm literally not joking. That's how important the human side of these jobs are.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just dinner. It's a phone call.
Yeah.
I would much rather have a phone call with someone about something that, if it's about something that matters, much rather have a phone. How many times do I say, Mike, can we do a phone call?
All the time.
Instead of doing the message, because I'm like, this is something that matters. This is something that matters. I want to do a phone call, or I want to get on a conference call. I want to deal with the person, not the text on the screen. Even if it's the most beautiful user interface in the world, I don't. If it's something that matters, I'm going to deal with a person in person, on the phone.
Right.
But so yes, so AI can give answers, but they can't
Grow.
no matter how humanistic it attempts to be, it's not going to replace that human.
No.
How do you put ones and zeros on comfort, ones and zero on confidence? How are you? Chat GPT is, it's giving you everything that you want, but at the end of the day, I can't relate to the machine. I can't relate to the AI. It's
right.
I don't feel comfortable.
I need the people are the ones that can convince me of whatever the AI created.
Absolutely right. It's that X factor of you're able to relate to that particular client and be able to pick what they like, what they don't like. And, like Ben, I had laughed. He's like, look, he hates golf and he would love ChatGPT to take that off his plate. But it's like, okay, and this is dating me, but remember Rocky IV where he had that giant robot, in the house, and it was supposed to create that relationship, that bond between he and the robot, and it's just like, no, that's not going to work. So it's like you need the element.
All right.
So I'll answer then. You guys take the next question. I have to take the little princess out. She's literally crying and saying, "Take me out." Stock market traders. There's cloud architect jobs that pay 500,000 plus a year.
We can answer this one, Mike. This one's pretty easy. Can you become a millionaire from being a cloud architect over time?
Yeah.
Yes. The average cloud architect, and this is average, earns $197,000 a year. And new cloud architects maybe a little less, maybe a little more. It depends. Experienced cloud architects up to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. I don't have the examples on my computer. Mike has them on his. He also has printouts because he likes to come with receipts. But there are jobs available that pay $387,000, $500,000. Mike, go do your thing. We got this.
Yeah. And also, it all depends on if you go to a management consulting firm that's looking for a solid architect, and you go on the partner track, or you go on, you will. Focused on that, I'm not going to say, because I can't really say, but I'm telling you, within a quick amount of time, you can become a millionaire.
Yeah, and
it's going to take a whole lot more than ChatGPT to do it. It's relationship.
I'll show you some statistics. So if your focus is on certifications, look, no. If you focus on business acumen and digital transformation, sure. So I was a principal architect within 2 years of the time I started my tech career. 2 years. This is what Microsoft pays a principal architect, $508,000 per year. What's the difference? Business acumen. Now here's what AWS pays theirs, $372 on average. Here's what Microsoft pays theirs on average. Oracle's the lowest paying on average for their principal architects, but they're still paying $300,000 a year. So the point is yes. Now, what's the difference between a $500,000 architect and a $150,000 architect? Well, there's a big difference. A $150,000 architect is focused on getting 10 certifications, and they're focusing on the tech. The $500,000 architect is focusing on how making their customer more successful. How do I increase your sales? How do I improve your employee productivity? How do I bring out the best in your team? How you choose to do it. And that's why we spend so much time on soft skills, leadership skills, and executive presence, because they're the skills that help you earn more.
All right, so we got a few more. Oh, bye, Mike. We got a few more examples of. I'm going to mute you, Mike. We've got a few more examples of some things that ChatGPT can do, and then we're going to wrap it up. It's been a long day for us here at Go Cloud Careers. So let's see. This video is going to be AWS storage question. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can do it. Remove. I got too many videos. I've been forgetting to remove them. Okay, let me try this again. Present video. Okay, so this one is titled AWS storage question. We may have already played it. I'm not sure. What AWS storage? Yeah, we played this one. All right. But this is another example of something that may be asked of an architect. This is on an interview to gauge a competency, maybe.
Yeah. This is more of a certification question. For example, on an interview, I would ask an architect and say, you need a high-performance database. AWS IO2 devices only give you 250,000 IOPS. They're currently on a server that has 10 million IOPS. How can you make that work in AWS? And that's knowing that, for example, there's a RAID card that you can get for a server that has 19 million IOPS right now on a standard server. And block storage, the fastest you can get is 250,000. So how do you get past the block storage performance problems? And that's an architect question. This is a certification question. What do I use? So that's kind of the difference. The difference on why this is a certification thing, and it gives you great information. But the architect needs to know how to performance tune. So does a serious cloud engineer. They need to know how to make it work too.
So I got one more. Again, we may have already played it. It's titled Virtual Machine, so I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, we played that one. All right. Okay, so we had played it. We played all of our examples. We had to go with video examples because we kept running into the problem of ChatGPT being too busy all day.
It was too busy, and then Anthony and I, one from my team, were playing with it around 4 o'clock this afternoon, but it made it to so many news medias, and I think I was in 5 or 6 news articles with big media outlets too in the last couple of days talking about it because it's just so exciting technology that everybody tried it for the first time and they added capacity, and it's performing much better now. But we didn't want to do a demo and have everything fall apart, so I filmed it for you. It's
all right. Data. So since we're trying to stick with our New Year's resolution of sticking to our time frames that we set for ourselves, this is a 2-hour show that we start at 6 p.m. It's almost 8 o'clock, so we are going to start wrapping everything up. Before we start wrapping everything up, I do want to remind everybody that we do have our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. That is on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern every week. Now, next week, we're also going to be doing one on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you register for either one of those, Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time this week and next week, or Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so that you can learn everything you need to know about how to become a cloud architect, even if you have no experience and you don't know anything about the role. We will go over everything you need to know. So make sure you join us there. Also, I want to remind everybody about our discount countdown. So for a limited time and while slots are available, you can get up to 60% off of our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Make sure to take advantage of that 60% off discount and get access to your 3 live classes a week for an entire year from experts that have a combined 300 years of experience, as well as over 500 hours worth of content on demand to you. So those are two things I want to remind everybody about. Going to look at the questions real quick to see if we got any questions. 10 minutes. Sometimes somebody say person who's. Yeah, lots of good insights over there about the human aspect. All right. So we'll end it on this question. So how do you get to hiring managers that actually ask technically infused scenario questions, as you've described, that push beyond the certification level questions? That is a good last question.
It sure is. And the reality is, if you're actually in a real architect position, they're going to ask you real questions. They're typically going to start with, there's typically going to be a screener call. And they're going to ask basic things because they don't really want to waste somebody's time. And then after that, they're going to put you in front of somebody serious.
Yep.
And that somebody serious is going to ask you some serious, real questions because they're going to see if you're good. And then from there, they may do one of the following. They may put you in front of another technical person, or they may stop it there and they're going to put you in front of a panel. And they're going to ask you to actually give a presentation. This is not this kind of thing where you just prove competency. There's no coding test. There's no hands-on tech test, at least for architects. You're going to have to deliver a presentation. They're going to give you an architectural challenge, a problem you need to solve. And they're going to then make you present it. And they're going to be looking for, can you present it to the executive in the audience? Can you present it to the technical professional in the audience? And can you also communicate it in a manner that people can understand of all levels? Then they're going to ask you to defend it. The same way someone does a PhD and they've done all this research for all these years and they have to defend their dissertation. They're going to ask you to defend your architecture. And they may even start a fight or cause some conflict during the interview and the presentation to see if you've got the emotional intelligence to control it. And on an elite job, they definitely will do that for you. So that you're going to find that on anything. D. Johnson, if you're your dog, if you are who I think you are, always wonderful to have you on this channel. And if you're not, it's still wonderful to have you on this channel.
Yeah, and there's something important to remember. Not everybody, I mean, every company interviews differently.
Yes.
Their process, some companies have no process. And it's just all completely ad hoc and chaos. Some companies have entire methodical processes that are exhaustive in nature, and so there's no one size fits all on the interview process. One thing, and this is just from my experience and from what I've seen with other people that I've worked with in any industry, but also in tech, is your screeners, if you wanna call them that, or your gatekeepers, if you wanna call them that. They are going to be the ones to be the tech question people, or if it's not a tech industry, if it's another industry, they're going to be the ones to ask the black and white or detailed questions, if that are by the book, so to speak.
Yeah.
Screeners are going to look for those things that can just kick you out automatically, immediately. But yeah, so a lot of companies, even large companies, don't have processes. It's surprising. It's very surprising. But another thing, and this is something, again, just something that I've seen, doesn't mean that it's necessarily the norm now, but the screeners and the gatekeepers have somehow started to give that impression that they're actually an interviewer. It's kind of started to blur the lines a bit. And I think that has a lot to do with the switch to a lot of things being done virtually. So whereas in the past, the screener was usually the one that you would deal with over the phone, and then the interview you actually did in person. Nowadays, it's kind of like everything is done the same way for a lot of these situations. and I think the screeners and the gatekeepers have kind of taken advantage of that to give the impression that they're actually doing the interview, if that makes sense. And so that's just something that I've seen and something that I've heard, and from people that have shared their experiences with me. I'm like, that's a gatekeeper. And they're like, well, it was an interview. I'm like, no, that was not an interview. That was not an interview. That was a gatekeeper. So anyway, these, like I said, that's something I think I can attribute, or I would attempt to attribute to just the change in how interactions are done. Like even first interviews after the phone screen, like what used to be after the phone screen, even your first interview now is probably 50-50 going to be done via virtual. So it's kind of blurred lines. So you add that blurred lines into a lot of organizations not really having clearly defined processes.
Yeah.
It kind of fits in with the job descriptions and the chaos created by the job descriptions. It's all chaos.
And while he's at it, even if they have a process, if somebody's really good like Chris or Alonso, you may violate it. For example, when I interviewed at WorldCom, they would do 1 to 2 months of interviews. They hired me on the spot. I then interviewed on Wall Street for the largest market maker on the NASDAQ. I had an offer before I left. I then worked at a company called Riverstone, which is now Nokia. They sent me out and flew me out for a miserable 8-hour interview. And by the time my plane landed, the red eye home, I had an offer. Cisco would do 3 months worth of interviews, and I had a job offer within 3 days. So if you're really good on the interview, and I literally studied interviews for 25 years because I'm just fascinated by the behavioral science, and that's why we're so good at what we do. They may just stop the whole interview process quickly because I can't let Alonso go work for my competitor. I can't do that. I can't have Chris go work for my enemy. I need him. So, I'm not going to let him interview for a month once I know he's good.
All right. So we need to wrap it up, guys. So I'm going to let you two share closing comments. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet.
Okay. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet too.
Same.
So it's a wonderful world. There's an incredible amount of opportunities in the tech space. The technology changes and we must adapt. Blockbuster Video, I love them, dead. Most travel agencies, dead. I used to spend work shifts to call my girlfriend in Miami, and it was like 25 cents a minute. Email, whoa, changed everything. Post office, practically dead. Been losing money for decades ever since email came about. Been getting bailed out by the government for years. So the point is I'll take this information and you can adapt with this and build out these special valuable skills, and you'll be the most valuable person in the world with the best career. Please do that. I implore you to take this information, look at the business information yourself, look at the industry trends, and figure out how and why you get to the things that are going to take better care of you in the future. I don't want you to let it go until the end, because this is going to change things dramatically. Change your focus. Focus on what you really want to do. Focus on what you love, and figure a way to leverage this technology for a better future so it doesn't swallow you alive. For all of you, we can all do something we love. Find something you love. You can all do anything you want. Just be great at it. But learn how to use this technology as a tool. The technology is a great tool. Learn how to use it and become better.
Absolutely, Mike. I definitely can't outdo that. But what I can say is that don't react to what's going on. Plan your career from here on out. Focus on, like Mike said, what you want to do. You see the proverbial ChatGPT on the wall. Make the associated pivots for your career. Plan ahead. Strategize what you want to do and make the best future that you can for yourself. What about you, Chris?
Yep, I agree. Just like when I started off talking about another industry being impacted by disruptive technologies and how the people that were able to succeed in that were the best. Tie that with what Alonso just said. If you want to be an engineer, prepare to be the best. Prepare to have the skills that others don't. If you want to be a programmer, same thing. If you want to be a cloud architect, same thing. If you're every role is going to be impacted in some way, shape, or form, some more than others. But if you prepare to be the best in that role and have the skills, competency, and emotional intelligence that others don't have, then you're going to be set up for success. So don't let the disruptive technology scare you or bother you or anything like that. Adapt, improve, and adjust your plans for whatever roles you have. So I enjoyed the show, everybody.
Same. It's always good talking with everyone, and I really love the interaction, not only between who's been in the chat with us, but the interaction community with each other. So I saw there was a lot of nuggets being dropped, a lot of gems, but not only that, the reception of how that data was taken in by the community. I love that interaction. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really great chat box over there today, everybody. I appreciate it. All right, so I'm gonna close out with the video here, and we'll see everybody later this week on the webinar on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye. Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.